So hello again, it's Andrew at Make Believe Nails, and just to recap, that's where we got up to yesterday. Okay, so we've done all our background work with our Get Nailed by Lauren McBride polishes, put everything in that we wanted to. We'd freehand sketched first and put Willy Wonka on there and all the bits and bobs surrounding him onto our competition tips, and then we begin. So we're using the same products as yesterday, and they're there. And there's my Lauren McBride palette, and we're using carving gels as well today. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start with shading. So we're working on that matte background, and we used Material Girl, which is the Get Nailed matte top coat, and we're actually just using the darker colour of that mixed brown palette that we mixed up yesterday, and we're putting some base coat in it just to make it a bit more transparent, so there's not a huge line when you're doing your blending. And we're starting on the top hat, obviously, in the corners, because like I said, our light is coming in from the windows on the mushroom side. So I know what I mean, so just bear with me. Also, I'm putting in the highlight of the ribbon there in his top hat, as you can see. Cleaning up the sides and the edges. And all I'm doing when I'm cleaning up is actually putting a little bit of gel residue wipe off solution onto my brush, wiping it off actually first on the towels that I use, so that it's just in the brush. It's not wet, because you don't want to do that, because if you're putting gel residue on and then trying to go in and shade, it's just going to eat it up. So I've moved on now, I think, from my top hat. And as you can see, I'm mixing into base coat there. So I think I come in now and I'm doing his coat, which is Temptress by Lauren McBride, the Get Nail Polish selection. And what I'm doing is doing any kind of, like the wrinkles of when you're wearing a coat and when your arms are folded in a coat, you create wrinkles in your material. So what I'm doing is I'm actually using that darkest colour. So it's Temptress mixed with a little bit of black and then mixed with a little bit of base coat, just to kind of bring that depth into that velvet jacket he's wearing. So I go around and do this on the other side as well on him. So it's around the lapels, because he has got lapels there that you can't actually see. Well, you can now. That's how good it is. It works wonders for just making little things like that stand out. So that's what I'm doing, going into the cuff, under his arm, and the elbow as well, because he's got his hand on his walking stick, bit of a crook. So you'll see that there. And what you'll see is me also clean up along those lines. And there I am, going back in again. So all the way through this, I'm always checking. I'm picking up my piece, I'm checking it, like reflecting the light off it to see where the light's bounding and if that looks right, if a line of shadow looks correct as where it should be. Now I'm going into his little bow tie, but it's not a bow tie, it's like a cravat scarf tied into a bow tie with two bottom ribbons popping out. So I'm putting the shading into the ruffles of it, so that it looks like it's actually tied from a middle knot. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just using what I used in the hat, mixed with a little bit of Acorn, with a little base coat as well, and it's all about the base by Get Nailed. And then with that, I used the lighter colour of Acorn that I mixed yesterday, and I'm actually doing all the creases within his trousers, because we used a very, very light mixture of Acorn and Innocence to get that kind of chino-y colour. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going in and doing like underneath his waistcoat. So, because obviously your waistcoat comes just over your trousers. So that's what I was doing there. Right, so obviously I'm having another way up, seeing where I'm going. So what I'm going to do now is do a little bit of shading on the face. Now this was again Acorn mixed really lightly, and I'm using my nail there just to use a palette because it's handy having long nails sometimes. So I'm using the darkest light bit of my Acorn mix palette, if you know what I mean, just to do some contouring on the face. Now, as you can see, I'm going in and I'm marking out where I want things to be. But those dark lines aren't going to stay there because I'm really going to soften those up. So I'm just putting slight lines. You can see me blending them out. But I'm mapping out where I want certain features to be before I go into detail, because I want those contours and highlights nearly there when I start. And it's just the way that I choose to do this. Other people do it in a different way. It's just the way I like to do it. I like to do it in layers, which is, you know, your lowest to the highest. So I'm also shading just under his chin with the darker section of that Acorn mix that I've made. I'm doing like eyebrows in his brow bone. I'm just going over and blending things out until I'm really happy with what I'm doing. This isn't what he's going to look like by any stretch, because it's in sections. It's a process. You've got to trust that process. Very wise lady said that once. And I think you know who it is. That's one of Lauren McBride's big things, is trust your process. You go in step by step. So now you can see I'm going back over again. I'm actually going into gel residue there and just moving stuff about that I'm not quite happy with, or I need to get rid of, and that's why I'm wiping it onto my tissue, because I'm just like, well, I can move that bit, get rid of that, because it's not cured. You know, I love painting in Get Nail polishes, gel polishes, because you can constantly move your product if you're not happy with it. It's not like acrylic where, you know, it's going to set, it's going to dry, it's going to be done. So here I am going back in with my darkest version of brown, and I'm using it on my lollipop sticks, and that's what you can see me clearing around there. And there you go. I'm now going in with a little bit of highlight on that bow tie. And also I'm highlighting with just my Get Nailed Innocence, the walking stick top, the lining of his jacket, and also his shirt collar. Now I've mixed it a little bit with base coat, and I've just used it on the top of that toadstool as well. And I'm also using it on my cream-filled space hopper that I love so much, and the other one, just to give it some reflective kind of qualities, so it looks more plastic, kind of plastic and shiny and surreal, and that's what you want to do. Although I want Willy Wonka to look very portrait, like he's, you know, he's a Victorian character that stepped off, I don't know, a Christmas card or something. I want his surroundings to look surreal, because the chocolate factory is surreal. So all the colours need to be vibrant, and it needs to have reflections on it, so it looks how it should. And that's what I'm doing there. So you can see, now you might notice that I've got one blue lollipop that I haven't done anything with yet. Bear with me. I've got plans for that bad boy over there. Right, so you can see there that I'm just blending things out. You can also see that I'm still using cheap brushes, because I'm waiting for Lauren McBride to bring her brushes out. I refuse to buy any until I've got Lauren McBride's. So again, I'm just mixing in, and it's actually a builder gel that I'm building on the top of these now, to give them a 3D standing effect off the wall of the background. And just because they'll pop a bit, they'll reflect the light, whichever way you're looking at them. You know, you can stand and say, oh, that's something different. That's not part of what the background, it's not the foreground of Willy Wonka, that's in the background, but it's something else. So I do that on the toadstools and the lollipops, apart from the small lollipop and the blue one. So what I'm doing is putting a amount of builder gel in the middle of that lollipop, and then I'm just blending it out to the sides, because you want your bulk of that gel in the middle. Or if it's a flat lollipop, you want to build the sides up first, it's up to you. I wanted to have mine as a domed lollipop just because I like that. So as you can see now, I'm waiting for that to come out the lamp. Still working on my editing though, guys. I will get there. I'm getting better. So we'll wait and see. So there we go. Weighing up again. And I'm going in again with builder gel. It's just builder in a bottle. So yeah, blending it out again. To stop air bubbles, if you put your brush into the gel and then pull it back and two, obviously I'm not going that quick, let's just speed it up. You don't put bubbles in. If you go in and out of your builder gel, you will put air bubbles in it. And that doesn't always look that good. It depends on what clarity you're looking for. If you're doing a water scene, I suppose it'd be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't it? Go for it then, but not with a lollipop. So back in the lamp again. And all of the Get Nail polishes cure for 30 seconds, and the builder gel I'm using cures for 1 minute. So that's how long I go in for. Now I'm doing 3 layers of this. Because a lot of these lollipops are in dips of the nail, in curves, I don't want to get rid of the curve of the nail, but I want to create the lollipop to stand out of the curve as well, so it doesn't look like it's on 2 separate nails. Now what you can see me doing now is hanging it upside down. Reason being, that gel, gravity pulls the gel to the centre of where it is, if you hold it in the right position, and it just looks better. So all I'm doing now, because I'm not in frame, because you know that'd just be too easy, you know, too perfect for me to stay in frame, is I am just moving hard gel about again, and then I'm sure I bring it back over. But when you really appreciate it at the end, when you've done all your bits in 3D and kind of building stuff out, you appreciate when it catches the light. What you can see I'm doing there is that I'm actually adding highlights with a flat gel brush as well, just because sometimes I didn't want a line of it. I wanted like a hazy kind of square of it. And using that gel brush with its flat sides was just easier to do than try and build a square with my fine liner. Sometimes you need a line, sometimes you just need a square. So, and here you can see I'm just going in actually now with some Black Widow mixed with All About the base, and I'm creating some darkness in my grass. Some shadow underneath those, I don't know what they're called, we'll call them space hoppers full of cream, because that's what I've been calling them. And also around the bases of those lollipops, just because that's where you'd have more grass, wouldn't you? It'd be sprouting up there. So we're bobbing that in, just to give that a bit of depth. And also, for some reason, under his arm as well. And that's the riverbank as well, where we've put that in under his arm on the side where the lollipops are. That is a riverbank, so we needed that kind of depth there, because we're falling off into a river of chocolate behind him. Also, I'm going in and cleaning up as well. Every time I use builder gel anything, clean around your sides, because sometimes it is self-leveling, and it will try and level out past where you want it to, so you just have to do that. Okay, so here I've gone in with Black Widow on my fine liner, and it's a long liner brush that I'm using there, and I'm actually creating ridges in my stone wall, but you see half of this wall is stone and some of it I've left pure flat grey, which is to give the impression of it being a factory, a grey, battleship grey factory. So that's why I'm going along, but I'm not doing perfect lines. I'm doing sketchy lines. I'm going back and two over the top of them just to make a ridge, you know, so it's not too regimental. It's supposed to be a rock face. There's nothing regimental in nature in a rock face, is there? So just going back and two, and then finding any bits that really do need a bit of depth behind them with black. But you can see how well Black Widow's actually covering on there. It's doing really well, doing the job I want it to. It's a gel polish as well, so it can move about quite easily. Yeah, you can see, like, behind the water. I'm just filling that in, putting a bit of black behind the water, because obviously it won't be as light as where the water hits on top of the waterfall. And then just pulling it out and sketching it out. Excuse the chihuahuas, because they just tend to bark at random. So that's what I'm actually doing there. Right, so I'll leave you to watch a bit, and then I will come back to you. See what I was doing then? Oh, there you go. Now we're going in with highlight, so I'm not going anywhere. So yeah, I'm just showing where the current of the river, and then on the top of there, I'm just putting some into the waterfall, but that won't be coming out as that pure white line. So it will be blended. You see, I'm trying to move it as much as I can, and I'm bringing it out to the sides just to show a flow of river, of water, of movement through that. Yeah, I've got some All About the Base note on there, which you can see I'm picking up that white and moving it about now. So I'll just let you watch a bit more of the shading and the highlighting that I'm doing in this background. Right, so you can see that we're still going over with Builder Gel, this time over on the lollipops. So I used a combination on those big Space Hopper cream filled things. I used a hard gel, which was just because I wanted to build up more bulk on those because they're actually nearer to the front and bigger and rounder. So that's what I did with just those. You can see me putting that really thick Builder Gel on there. So that's what I was doing then. It takes a bit more blending out because of the viscosity of the product itself. So there we go. That's all going on there. And then I just carry on doing this over those lollipops and over the Space Hopper thingamajigs. So I'll let you carry on watching. Right, so now we're back again. I'm just finishing off with the lollipops with the Build Gel here, cleaning up and going around, and then I'll pop those in the lamp. Now we're on to the 3D carving gel. Now these are by Get Nailed by Lauren McBride. They are amazing. I've used all sorts. They've either not cured, they've been sticky, they wouldn't stay on. These stay where they're supposed to. Now what I'm doing is I put a pea-size amount down and I'm spreading it onto that blue lollipop. Okay, so I'm using gel residue wipe-off solution on my brush. It's only damp, the brush, it's not wet. And I'm pulling and pushing it out to the sides. You can see there I need a bit more. So I'll pop that on a little bit more just so that I've got a bit more depth to it. So it's not too thin on there. Because the idea of me putting it on is so that I can add texture to this one, because this one is like a little tree, like a little bush. It's a gobstopper bush. So I push it out to the sides, leaving the bulk in the middle again, so it has some sense of being round. Pulling it right down, pushing it in, and then I'm actually pushing a lip up at the sides. So I go around the sides and actually lift a little lip. Not yet, I'll do in a minute. You'll see me start going round and doing that in a sec. Now this is a tool I use all the time and I love it. And it's not for this, it's not for doing nails with, but for texturizing stuff it is perfect. You can use silicone tools, but with this tool what I found was it actually pulled bits up and out, and I used it years ago for something I can't remember what I first used it for. But there you go, that's me lifting those signs now that I've created that texture. So it is a bush. So now you can see that I've already put my 3D bits on in my plasticine gel. Now there's a reason for this. It's because I'm going to do you a video on just making things out of plasticine gel. That'll be up later on this week. So what I've decided to do is go back into the face and do that for you, so you can see that really detailing going in now, you know, all the shading, all those low lights, right down the side of the left hand side of his face, the brow into the eye sockets, and that's all just using that dark version of Acorn that we used in our mixed palette yesterday. They're my leopard skin pants, you can see there. Yeah, I wear leopard skin as well. Oh, too much information. So there's that line of shade going in on that side of his face, on the left hand side of his face there. Now that isn't going to stay like that. You know that I'm going to move it about and it is going to get blended, and there you go. I'll just show you rather than tell you. I'll just show you. Bit of all about the base on your brush, and you can blend out all those dark marks that you've just made. You can see now that I've moved that picture because I'm happy with where I've put everything. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be exactly the same because I don't want it to be. That's a photograph, I'm doing a portrait, totally different. So, you know, if I can stay in frame, that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? So what I'm doing is using that all about the base on my brush that is now blending those low lights right out and across the face, because shadow doesn't just stay in one place and in a line, it blends out. And then obviously I'm using the lighter side of that palette we mixed yesterday with Acorn, the Acorn colour, to blend things into the shadow as well. So it's like you're going back into creating that blend line until you're happy with it. And here again, not quite happy with the nose, I'm going to change that. So let's just start pushing and pulling and, you know, adding lights. Now you can see that I am going in now for my highlights because I'm adding the white to his eyes, and all it is a tiny dot pulled out one way, pulled out the other way, just like you would do a star. Because with Innocence, it's that good as a product. You can use it as a gel, like a painting gel, because it won't go anywhere. It doesn't tend to move. You know, it's really, really good. But then it's got the same excellent viscosity for when you're painting it. It's like a scientific sensation, that polish. So there, I'm putting a little bit of highlight on the lower lip, which sticks out slightly. And then I do add some blush from the Core collection, Get Nailed Core collection, onto that lip as well. But you can see I'm just going in with Innocence all the time now, because I'm up to that level of doing the highlights on that face. So it's just pulling the highlights where I want them to be, because I wanted a line down the nose, a contour line, and then half of it is a lot lighter than the other half. But it's getting that line without it being a harsh line. And then you actually pull that highlight onto his cheek, onto the ball of his cheek, before you get into, you know, the kind of the jaw bone. It's like a divot, isn't it, into your jaw, your bottom jaw, which had to be darker. So you can use what was on the nose to pull that round in a shape to contour that cheekbone. Yeah, so it just concentrating on the face because everything else was pretty much done. But this is all kind of detailing now. I do know that I've got the coat to actually detail as well, and some other bits, because this is all part of that process. It's the finishing of what you're doing. Obviously you can't do this and then shade on the top, because it defeats the object of what you're doing. Right, so there's my trees. Yeah, so those I will show you in another video, because I'm going to do a full video on all kind of magical things that I can do with plasticine gel, which is 3D carving gel. Has many names, but 3D carving gel, because I want to spend an afternoon showing you what you can do with it, how you can apply it to different surfaces and that. And look at the colours. Those colours, man, blow your mind. They're absolutely beautiful. And that's why I've just thought, do you know what? 5 minutes out of this video won't be enough to see what you can do with those. So yeah, end of the week, it'll be Thursday, plasticine gel, i.e. carving gel, 3D carving gel, by Get Nailed. I'll have a video up on that, and like, we're going to do all sorts. absolutely all sorts with it. But I will go over what I've done there as well, so you can see that as well, and see the other things that we can make with it. So I just thought to talk about that, because obviously, guess what? I'm not in frame again. So, to the person who offered me help today on editing, please come to the rescue. Right, okay. So, we're going in, and I think we're doing a lot of detailing now on his coat, if I'm quite right. Which I have no idea, because we're not on there again. So, but yeah, I think you can probably guess on how we've used that 3D carving gel there. But, you know, I suppose sometimes it unless you've got the time to actually sit and play with it, it's easier just to watch someone else do it, and then you know. Right, okay, so this is me doing the brow bone highlight and then into that cheek. That's that highlight that's going in there now. Little bit of shadow over that side of the nose onto the other cheek. Blending that out. Just straightening that line underneath his hat with a bit of shadow. There you go. And it's weird because the smallest little marks that you make in the right places mean so much with a face. You know, all of a sudden, 1 minute, until the very end of the detailing of doing that process, you think, what have I done? This does not look right. And then right at the end, it pulls it all together and you're like, oh my, it does. You do have to trust the process, you know, of doing it in stages, like anything. So, yeah, if I ever come back on screen, I think I will do. There we go. So, I mean, look at the difference. So you can see that the whites of the eyes had gone in, and I've also just put a little bit of, a tiny amount of Blew My Mind mixed with Innocence from Get Nailed, tiny amount in the centre, and then I used the tip of a needle to put a tiny pupil in. Right, so now I'm actually going round in gel paint to line that hat. So it's just a gel paint going round and lining. Just going round the ribbon as well, creating a nice line, crisping that up. Then I'm going into his bow tie, into the ruffles. So, because obviously there's all different ruffles in that material once he tied his tie, and going around the knot as well. So guess what, we're nearly at the end, and as you can see I've decided to take off the lollipop tree bush. Basically it was too far out for me. It was throwing my eye off when I was looking at it. It needed to be closer to that last nail, and this is right at the end now, so all I'm doing is a bit more detailing, going in. You can see that on top of that white I have actually put a tiny bit of Blue My Mind mixed with Innocence and used a pointy ended dotting tool to put that on, and then I've actually used a needle to put some Black Widow in the middle of that. I'm just going around doing any more fine lining that I can see that I want to do, getting it in and out of the lamp because I do not want to knock it because I am clumsy and I would. So that's all we're doing, is going around and doing that. Any bits that I can see that need some a dark line to make it pop out is what I'm doing. But I have forgot something. I know that now because I'm voiceover in this, so there is something I forgot and I will pull you up on it in a minute. Okay, so when I've finished that tiny amount of detailing that I'm doing, and I also had put a little bit of aquagel in the waterfall and pulled it out from the nail so it looked like it was standing off a bit, just so that when I top coat it has a more of a dimension, of a rugged dimension than the lollipops and that kind of stuff. So what I am going to do, that's me closing my palette that I use for Get Nailed by Lauren McBride. I can just mix my colours, put it away in the drawer, and it's ready for tomorrow, sorted. So what I'm going to start doing when I finish faffing is I'm going to get my I'd Rather Be Shiny top coat, and I'm going to start top coating all those nails with the I'd rather, yeah, there you go, I'm still detailing, as you can see. I'm just going over there, and that's actually Black Widow that I'm using on those sticks just to make them pop out, on his walking stick and the sticks and the gobstopper tray. But when I pop that into the lamp, I'm going to come out and I'm going to use I'd Rather Be Shiny, the shiny top coat from the Get Nailed polish range, and I'm going to do all the nails with that. Now what I've found with I'd Rather Be Shiny is it's the perfect viscosity to use on competition tip nails, because it's not that thick that you feel like you're dragging it. It's not fluidy like a base coat. It is perfect, absolutely perfect. And I use that over the entire kind of piece, apart from the gobstopper tray and obviously the 3D bits. But I've also just popped on that lollipop tree as well. Now what I have missed, I'm going to tell you in a second. When I start top coating, I'm going to tell you what I've mixed. There you go. So here we go, top coating. Now I'm happily top coating away thinking la-di-da-di-da, I'm nearly done, but I'm not. I've forgotten the buttons for Willy Wonka's coat. Now how's Willy Wonka going to keep warm if I've taken his buttons away? Not on. So in a minute my squirrel friend is going to tell me no, go back, and then I'm going to show you a picture of him with his buttons on. Okay, do not panic. You may not have even ever noticed. I'm even top coating the lollipop stick bottoms there on the 3D lollipops, just because I wanted to. So let's see, we think we're done in a second, but we're not. And all I used was Gem Buddy by Get Nailed, did a line of it to actually pop on gold microbeads. See, no, I'm not done. In a line, and then I popped those microbeads on the top, and then did a small amount of top coat around the outsides. So there you go. It's missing there, if you can see. I'm having a glass of wine. Then I remembered. So it's not done there at all. So what I'm going to do is pop those on with a little bit of Gem Buddy in a line, and I'm going to do them on his lapel and his waistcoat, and then we're done. So That's him without them. That's that picture without. There's my squirrel saying stop. And that's the one with. And it just sets it off that bit more. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and like. Head over to Lauren McBride's channel. And I'll be with you again soon. Bye.